What is creativity? Okay, what if creativity wasn't a what? What if it were a how? So, well, how is creativity? No, that doesn't sound right. How about how do people create things? What is the route you take to create something new and innovative? What is the creative path? Everyone's path is different, but at least now we can think of it as a process, a method to solve problems and come up with ideas. Something that not just so-called creative people can do, but anyone could. Even this person. Let's call them you. What would this path look like? To answer that, I'm going to use a story from King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. One day they were all sitting down to dinner at the table when the Holy Grail appeared before them. Only they couldn't quite tell what it was. It was covered in like some kind of cloth or something. It was difficult to make out, but it seemed like a big deal. So King Arthur said, "We're all going to go on an adventure to find this Holy Grail." To find it, they would need to enter this big, dark forest. And just to make it even worse, they would all go in separately where they felt the forest was darkest. This way, they could each carve out their own path through the forest. And I think the creative path is a lot like this. You don't know what the solution is, you don't know what you'll find, you don't know where you're going, but you enter the forest with a purpose, to discover something. It's just unfortunate that in the forest we don't find the kind of path that we might have hoped for, with clear boundaries and markers to follow. No, the creative path isn't like that. In the forest there is no path, you need to create it. So how are you supposed to navigate your way through this forest to find what you want? Well, the forest teaches different things to different people, but here are some tactics that I've learned to help me find my way through the forest. Number 1, you'll need to redefine your goals. You've entered this forest for some reason, to discover something, but you can't see ahead of you. You can't use external rewards, which we usually use to guide our plans, because, well, there's a forest in the way. So what are your goals? Well, rather than saying, "I want to have something," you're much better off saying, "I want to be," or "you want to create something to be." So choose a verb, not a thing. I want to solve, I want to communicate, I want to fly, I want to help, I want to learn. That way the goal doesn't start here, it starts here. If the goal started here in the forest somewhere, we could wander around forever and never find it. Instead, when it starts from within us, we can provide ourselves with feedback on whether we're heading in the right direction. 2. Only take the next step. You can't do more than that because you don't know where you're going and, as I've mentioned before, there's a forest in the way. You can't try and sprint to the end or plan out every step of the way because there's a forest in the way. You don't know which way you're going yet. You have to focus only on what's in front of you, only make decisions based on what you know right now in this moment. At each point in the path, you will face a set of obstacles. Once you pass each obstacle, you'll be faced with a new challenge. But it's okay, because this you knows more than this you. They've learned something to reach this point. So you can't think about what you'll do after the next step because the context changes. This you knows more and is faced with different challenges. It's even worse if you try to plan out your whole journey because after 1, 2, 5, 15 steps, what right does this you have to make any decisions for this you? None. This you knows more. They've achieved more. They're faced with different obstacles. They feel differently. So if you've committed yourself to a plan when you're all the way back here, this you is going to be really annoyed because they might want to go in a different direction. The good thing about this is it's much easier. You will always know what the next step is. Don't worry about the big dark forest behind it. This brings me on to my next point. Number 3. You need to learn to manage your fear. Once you enter the forest, you don't get to choose when the path ends. What if you don't solve that problem or communicate that thing after you take that next step? You may feel like you're never going to get there, so you may want to try and exit the forest out of fear. That's good, we can use that to help us find what direction we're supposed to be headed, because we know that the path leads through the forest. So if your next step feels like a big, dark, scary forest, then you're probably going in the right direction. Trying to stay on your path through the forest, even when you're not sure if it will lead somewhere, is probably the hardest part. So, good luck. 4. Get good at giving yourself problems. Here's the thing, and maybe I should have mentioned this sooner, you not only need to create your own path through the forest, but the forest doesn't exist. You need to actually put it there in the first place as well. This is usually done by asking questions. The bigger the question, the larger the forest. So it may be, how do I solve global warming? Or it may be, what should I get my nan for her birthday? You then enter the forest and have to create obstacles as you go. Ask yourself more questions. Okay, so what does my nan like? If the obstacle feels too big, create another one for yourself. Ask a different question. Keep doing this until you feel up to the challenge. So, to eventually find the solution you want, you need to get good at asking the right questions. If the problem is too big, figure out what you need to solve it and come back when you're better equipped. 5. Create your tools. As you go through the forest, you'll learn things. You'll not just gain knowledge and develop skills, but as you don't know where the path will take you next, you will start to prepare other kinds of tools, ones that are more adaptable, tools that will help you manage a vast array of problems. These are your principles, values, and beliefs, amongst other things. Now, these are not things that you know or things that you can do. These are about the way you perceive things. Principles are things like, well, you've seen a lot of green and black things in this forest that sting you. You come across something else that is green and black, you don't know for sure, but based on previous experience, you think that this new thing is likely to sting you also. Values are the things that you've learned are important to you, like don't step on any cute furry things because you don't like killing things. These will help you find the result that you're looking for, whereas your beliefs are what carry you through the forest. It's like your engine, so be very careful when choosing your beliefs, because you will end up trying to prove to yourself what you choose to believe. So if you choose to believe you're not good enough to make it through this forest, then you won't get very far. But if you choose to believe that you are able to become what you set out to become, then you will spend your life trying to prove it to yourself. So those are all the tactics I have for you right now. But thinking of the creative path as a big, dark, scary forest that you need to navigate alone, that might not lead anywhere, and offers no external rewards, raises another question. Why bother? I'll try to answer this question in my next video.